Okay, so I'm using a program on my iPad called RoughAnimator, and this is basically it. And I'm learning it myself, so this is not the definitive version of how to do a walk cycle, but I'm going to have a go at it. And so first thing we want to do is import image. Going to my photos on my Mac, and here's my guide, and I'm just going to stretch the guide just a little bit there to fill the screen, and there's my first layer. So I'm going to call that, there we go, guide, just so I have something. And then I'm going to create a new layer, add empty layer, and there we have our animation layer. Just write it in, and here's my first frame there. So what I'm going to do is, this guide is too strong for me to look at right now. So what I'm going to do is, here you've got a percentage, see, and it's fading as I move down the percentage. So I just see enough of it as my guide. I'm going to go to the pencil tool here on the left, and I'm going to ask to see the tool options, and I want my brush size. I'm going to use this, yes, and I'm going to increase the brush size to about something like 7, and I'm going to, using my fingers, I'm enlarging, 2 fingers opening up on the screen allows me to basically get large enough to draw. And then, so what I'm really doing is my first stride, I'm just tracing it, okay? Now you don't have to be perfect because this is a very quick, very rough demo, and I'm not trying to be careful, and because I'm recording it, I have it propped up, my iPad, so it's awkward for me to draw, but I'm just doing it so that you can see what I'm doing. So I just strengthening this up so I can see what I'm doing, and this is my preliminary, okay? We're going to work on this a bit more in a minute, but I just want to get my preliminary shape in on frame 1. This is my first stride, there we go. I just strengthen it up a little bit to make it look. So if I shrink it down now, there we go. You can see that we've got the first stride in here. So here is animation frame 1. So I'm going to go over to add drawing, add after, and that gives us a second frame. Now what I'm going to do is, I can't see my guide now, so I have to go to the guide frame here, and this little arrow allows you to, should allow you to pull it along. There we go. So I'm just stretching it out now so I can see it over a number of frames. So I'm going to go back to frame 2, and what I'm going to do is, essentially, I'm just going to trace more or less the same thing, except this time, this is where my legs are going to be here, except this time I'm reversing the stride. So this near leg, this one here, is going to be the back leg. So what I'm doing, and remember it's on its own line, because the back leg always comes down, sorry, the near leg always comes down to the lower line, and it's slightly bigger than the far one because of perspective. And this one, I'm now going to draw something like this, and that's going to be the back leg. Now we'll work this out in a minute. So the front leg is now the back leg on frame 2. Just strengthen it up so we can see what we're doing here. So the front leg is going to be in front of the body, and the back leg is going to come out from behind the body. Now I'm drawing it, as I said before, I'm drawing at a weird angle here, so it's kind of difficult for me to draw, but I think you get it. Now I forgot to shade the far leg because we want to differentiate between the two. So I'm shading this far leg on this one. I'm going to go back to frame 1 and I'm going to shade the far leg on that one like this. And I'm going to go to the eraser tool, which is next to the drawing tool, which is here, and I'm just going to erase that there so we can see that's in front. I'm going to go to frame 2 and I'm going to erase just here and here so that we can see that. So now if I scrub, I can scrub backwards and forwards. See, nothing's moving really, it's just we're reversing legs, alright? But now we want to do an in-between. We want to do the passing position. If you look at my demo of the pencil and paper drawing, you'll realize that the next stage, we've got our 2 key strides now. And why don't I just do a little chart here. Go back to pencil tool, do a little chart, and I'll show you what we're doing. So I'm going to go drawing 1 and 9, 3, 5, 7, 9. This is just like we did for the pencil and paper demo. Alright. So this is drawing number 1. This one here is drawing number 1. And if I go to frame 2, and remember this is temporary because we're going to add in-betweens. This is going to be drawing number 9, and the chart here is going to go back to number 1. And we're going to have the same number of in-betweens. So 11, 13, parenthesis, because it's a passing position, 15 and 1. Okay, we'll add more eventually, but just for this demo I'm going to do it the simple way. Okay, so let's go back to our frame 1, and between frame 1 and frame 9 we're going to do a passing position, number 5. So I'm going to go add drawing after, and you'll see that frame 1, I had frame, let me undo that again. So let me explain what I'm doing. I'm selecting frame 1 of the animation, add drawing, add after, and you can see now we've got a new drawing between the 2 keys if you look up there. So I'm going to now call it number 5, and it's going to be in parenthesis. Okay, now on number 5 what happens is that the front leg, which is this near leg, is going to go to become the back leg. So I'm going to, and I'm just doing this visually, I haven't worked it out in any way like I did with the paper, but I'm going to say, okay, there's my foot here. And that's the near foot because it's on the bottom line. And there's where the ankle is going to be. And what's happening is the body is going to go up on this because we're going to have a straight leg from that ankle and we're going to push the body up. So I'm trying to keep it more or less, can't do superimposition on digital animation I'm afraid, which is my big regret of that. That's why I prefer paper, because it's so much controllable. I'm going to use the eraser tool. I'm just going to take that out there. And now we have to do the other leg, the number 4 position, remember. So I'm going to bend the knee there. And if you imagine behind, it's going like this. And we're going to have that foot is kind of behind like that, all right? So there we go. And I'm going to shade this. I'm going to shade this. And I'm going to use the eraser tool just to erase all that stuff out there. Okay, so now if I scrub along, you go to frame 1, 5, 9. So we're beginning to get some movement going there, okay? And So now I want to do, I'm just working on, for this digital demo, I'm just working on the first stride. We're not doing the whole cycle just yet. All right. So now I want to go to frame 1, add drawing, add after, and now it gives me a new in between. And now you can see there's a thing called onion skinning down in the bottom left hand corner. This thing here down in the bottom left, it says onion skin. If you click it on, it means you can see drawings before and after the one you're working on now. So the one we're working on now is number 3. So here we go, number 3. I can see the body's going up, so I'm going to draw a body halfway in here. Not a very good circle, but there we go. And I can see that the hip on one is there and the hip of the other one is there. So I'm going to draw roughly a hip there. I can see that the foot is coming down. I want the foot to be flat on the ground, so I'm going to draw a foot that's kind of halfway between the two, like that. And I'm going to join the leg up like that. All right. Now, if you remember from our demo, the paper demo, the leg here pushes back. It stays on the ground on on drawing number 3. So, and it moves back the same amount as the foot slides. So see this distance from here to here. Well, we want that same distance from there to there. So that's where the toe is going to be. And I guess I'm going to draw the foot somewhere like this. So it's pushing back from where it was before. And the other hip's going to approximately be there, and I like to do a straight leg there because it emphasizes the fact it's pushing back. See that? So here's our back leg, like that. I'm going to use the eraser tool to clear this away so that we can see a little bit more clearly. Now if I scrub from 1, 3, 5, and then we've still got to do that in between, but 1, 3, 5, see that? It's now working like a walk, like that. So I'm going to go to frame 3, and I'm going to click Add Drawing, Add After, and that gives me a new in-between position here. And this will be number 7. Whoops, pencil tool selected, 7, like that. And again, we're going to in-between the body. And I'm just roughing it all out. This is really rough animation, guys. I'm just learning how to work the tools in here. So the ground foot, the foot is coming back and it's beginning to bend. So we're going to have a little bit of a bend on the foot. It's coming up. See, it comes up high for the key stride position, but it's not quite there yet. So I'm going to draw this bend. And the hip is going to come back a little bit like this because it's going to the back. It would be about there somewhere. So this is the near leg, remember, and the other leg, if you remember, the other leg is rising above and ahead of where it lands on the ground. So the contact position on the far leg, that's where it's going to be on the ground. So we're going to draw a foot that's higher and further ahead of where it's going to land, because our leg swings through forward and higher and then comes down backwards onto the ground. And that is what I'm going for, something like this. All right. So eraser tool, let's just erase this part so we can see what's going on. And now if we scrub, we've got one stride. The beginnings of one stride. See that? And the body's going up and down. See that? And the foot's coming through forward and down. Now we need to create, so there we have our final stride. Okay, like that. So what we need to do is go back to 1. So what I'm going to do is, and I have to work this out because I've only ever done it once and I've forgotten how I did it. I'm going to select frame 1, and I think I'm going to go here and duplicate after. So I'm going to go to duplicate after. Now that gives me a stride here which is identical. So if I scrub between the two, you can see, other than the onion skinning, if I turn the onion skin off, you'll see it's the same drawing. I'm moving backwards and forwards. So what I'm going to do is select frame 2 and hold down on it and drag it all the way to the end. So now we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and back to 1 again. Okay, so now we can build our second stride. So I'm going to go to frame 5. I'm going to add drawing after, and that gives me a new in-between position, and put onion skinning on. So I now can see that I've got my 2 stride positions. So in this new one, I've got to do a new passing position. So again, I'm going to select the pencil tool. This time the foot's on is on the far or the higher line. So I'm going to do this, put it there on the upper line because it's the far foot this time. It's the shaded one, remember. And remember that the leg goes straight up from that contact ground position. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push the body up here. If you imagine that the hip is there, and I'm just roughing in the body here, trying to make it a similar size, failing miserably because it looks smaller to me, but I'm working out a little bit. So there you can see it's going up. That's what we want. We want the body to go up and down. All right, that's what we want. So here's the body. Let me just clarify some of these things. Put the eraser tool on. Oh, that's what we want, because the body, this is the back leg, so the body is actually going to be in front of that leg. All right. Now the other leg is passing through in our number 4 position. Remember we talked about a number 4 position before. So I'm just approximating the size of the foot coming through, something like that. As I say, it's all very rough, but it should work. And that gives us a foot in the foreground. Eraser tool, let's clear away all this stuff so we can see that yes, it is indeed the near foot coming through like that. Go back to my, let's take that off. Back to my pencil tool, just strengthen that up a little bit. Do the heel. And then the leg behind there, let's shade it in so we know that's the shaded one. So this is our passing position. This is number 13. Forgot to number it. Always number your drawings, just in case you want to work it out later. So now if I scrub from this one to this one to that one, we can see we're getting the rudiments of a movement going on the second stride. So I'm going to go back to, again, frame 5, which is that number 9 position. We're now going to do number 11. So I'm going to go to add drawing, add after, gives me a new in between. And now I'm just going to in between, because I have the onion skin on, the body here. The hip is kind of coming from the back to the front. The foot, well, let's deal with this foot first. So this foot is now going to be flat on the ground. Remember, it's on the higher line, and it's going to be somewhere like this. And sorry, the hip is going to be on that far leg. It's going to be around there somewhere, going towards the front or coming back from the front. So the front leg's going to be there, and this is our shaded leg. Let's deal with that so we don't get confused. And the other hip's going back like this. Let me get my approximate position of the hip. Now remember, the foot is sliding this much this way. So this back foot, we want to keep the toe on the ground, so it's going to go back a similar amount. It's about there approximately, and the foot's going to be about there. Whoops, I forgot something. Error on my part, guys. It's on the lower line. I got it wrong. So remember that. Remember that the near foot is going to be on the lower line. It's going to be here somewhere. There's the ankle. There's the foot on the lower line. And as I said, because it's pushing off, I like to feel that there's a stretch on the leg there. So I'm putting that in as well. I'm still roughing through this eraser tool. Let's clean this up a little bit, not much. And erase that part out. Pencil tool, just strengthen the body up a little bit. And that gives us number 11, straight in between, nothing around the number. And then I'm going to go to the passing position. I'm going to add one more frame, add drawing up here on the left, add after, and that gives me a new in-between position. So I'm going to rough in where the body is. And this is number 15, by the way, so put number 15 down. And again, this foot is just going along halfway on that upper line, so I'm going to draw that in first, but it's beginning to lift up here. So the heel's coming up. The front part of the foot is down okay. This is going to be here, so I'm going to put I'm going to put the leg in there, razor tool. That's roughly where the back leg is. And then again, remember when it's swinging through, coming down to the next contact position, the next contact position is going to be the heel on the ground there. We're going to put the foot up here somewhere. There's the ankle. We're going to have the foot come up here. And we're going to have that leg coming forward like that. All right, so in theory, if I just clean it up a little bit, in theory, we now have our 2 strides finished. The only thing I haven't done is shade in the back leg. Do that. And then if I scrub this second part, there we go. So if we scrub from the beginning, we've got 1 stride, 2 strides. Now because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to eliminate the background drawing. So I'm going to slide this guide back so it disappears. I'm going to take onion skinning off. And I'm going to delete this drawing because we don't want one coming on twice. So I'm going to delete this drawing. And I'm going to just tidy up here. I'm going to make this, we don't see the guide, but we actually do just tidy it up. So we don't, if we ever do see it, we don't see it, if you know what I mean. Okay, so what I can do now is I can just hit the play button, which is down towards the left on the left hand side, and we can see we've got something going, but it's going way too fast. So, and that's because we're using 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and really they're on 1 frame, on 1s at the moment, and we want to change that. So let's go to 2s, which is what on 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. We haven't got any even numbers, so these represent odd numbers, so that means they're on for 2 frames. So I'm going to drag this guy for 2 frames. No, it didn't go. There we go. I'm going to drag this guy for 2 frames. I'm going to drag this guy for 2 frames. 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 We're getting there, guys. This one for 2 frames. And this one for 2 frames. Okay, so now we've doubled everything. In terms of each drawing is on for 2 frames, I'm going to hit play now. And now you can see that's more of a more natural, realistic cartoon walk, at least. It's a fast walk. Now, what I could do is double, in the demo I showed you in the classroom just now, I could double this to 4 frames each. In other words, we'd put the even numbers in, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, put those in-betweens in and shoot them on 2s, and that would give us half this speed again. But I'm not going to do that right now. I just wanted to show you how digital animation, we can very quickly get to a test. Now, if I want to, I can hit stop here. If I want to, I can go up to the top left and I can go export to video, but I don't want to do that. All right, so I'm just going to click off that. But what I do want to show you is that we've now got very rough animation. So let's say we wanted to make it just black line. And I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to create a new layer. So modify layers, add empty layer, and we'll call this cleanup. All right, so bear with me. CLEANUP. And now we've got a new one called cleanup. Now on the animation layer, I'm selecting the animation layer. I'm going to go to the left of it and I'm going to reduce its percentage. So see, it's fading. All right, I just want enough so I can see it. And then I'm going to go back to frame 1 of the cleanup layer. I'm going to go select the pencil tool. I'm going to say the brush side this time there are different brushes and we're not going to go into it right now, but well, we could do if you like. So we could pick a textured brush, bit like a pencil line, and we could adjust its size. I'm just going to go something like, let's say 17, okay? And it's pressure sensitive, so I'm going to put the pencil on the line and I'm going to draw it heavy in the middle and light at the ends. So I'm going to go heavy in the middle and light at the ends. And gradually you can do a nice clean up version of your original drawing on a new layer. So I'm pushing hard and then I'm going to go light to the end. All right, so I'm going to go around here, hard, I'm pushing hard here, and then I'm going light here. I'm going to push hard here and go light there. Hard and then light. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm getting a kind of thick and thin feel to the line so it feels more organic. Go light and then I'm going to go thick along the bottom and then get light again. And you can even do little cross hatchings to this so that when you're finished, I can completely get rid of the animation layer by making it 0% and we just see a cleaned up line. And so now I'm not going to do the whole thing because I don't want to spend class time on it, but that's just to show you. And then you can do coloring. You can fill the color. If I choose, let's say, I'm just going at random here. Let's pick a color at random. Let's say a yellow, a brighter yellow. Hit OK, and then if I go to the bucket tool, I can just fill in very quickly the back leg, like that. And of course then you can add a background. There's a layer up here called background, up here on the top timeline. You can put a picture in there, make that your background, and have pretty quickly your color animation by roughing it out first on this layer. Let me show you again. Let me take this one off. Here's our rough animation layer. So we can rough everything out like that pretty quickly. When we're happy with the movement and we play it, then we can add our new cleanup layer and clean it up and color it and add a background layer down here underneath. and then export to video. Second one down, up top left. All right, export to video, and then we can create a video of the whole thing. Now we can also duplicate this and run it. So this is just one cycle of 2 strides. We can actually extend that. We can just multiply that, repeat and repeat, and either do that as an extended video, or we can render it as one complete cycle, and in a video editing program we can just duplicate it there so that it can run and walk, or walk, or whatever it's doing for ages. All right, but anyway, that's RoughAnimator. I like it a lot. I've still got a lot to learn about it. I'm just exploring it myself. But if you've got an iPad, here's something that will actually work very quickly for you. I'm not going to teach the rest of the class in RoughAnimator or iPad, but if you've got one, it might be a more immediate way of getting some of our tests done. Now, when we get to Module 2, you're going to be working in Moho instead of this. But if you have an iPad and you want to get RoughAnimator, here's a quick way of doing exercises that might be better than pencil and paper. And as long as it's drawn, I don't mind what way you go. All right, so that's it.